our Air Force, that is where they use. We have a 24/7 surveillance by our Navy on the Western Indian Ocean with Somalia. No ship carrying anything can enter, particularly the area we man, the sector that we man. And we man the sector, both the sea and the land and the air, that borders our country. The other sectors are manned by our colleague troop contributing countries. So, Madam Speaker, our exit I have given plan. And above all, we are also looking at, as we exit, how is the fourth generation, how is the capacity of the Somali security forces being built, which is better than maybe 15 or 20 years ago, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, CS. Senator Samson Charadike. Remember, you ask only one question.
Okay. Madam Speaker, I want to thank Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale for appearing and answering questions. Mine will only be one. Just in addition, to ask the CS Aden Duale, Kenyan troops that are participating in United Nations /AU missions across the world, either wet or through dry lease, because he has indicated, sorry, whether the lease it is or whether dry or wet lease, Madam Speaker, is how much money has been reimbursed by United Nations African Union to Kenya over the last 5 years. Madam Speaker, to answer that, including I've heard a mention about the United Nations Approval Security Council or participation of our ever courageous police officers in Haiti, whether Kenya Defense Forces will be part of it. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for that allowance.
CS Aden Duale.
Madam Speaker, thank you to the question to my Honorable Senator for Nandi. Yes, Kenya has participated in peacekeeping missions since time immemorial. And Madam Speaker, it's very sad. At one time, we were country number 4 in peacekeeping mission. Over the years, we are now at number 41. And that's why we have made a deliberate attempt, particularly under this administration, to make sure that we regain our position and do better. Because Rwanda, which was behind us, now is number 3, I think, in peacekeeping mission. So, and I really want to thank Parliament for the passage of the Peace Fund. The passage of the Peace Fund was very, very critical. It was passed 3 months ago, and now we are putting the implementation structure. How much we have received from ATMIS the last 5 years in terms of reimbursement? Roughly, we receive about 500 million every year. So in 5 years, it's like 2.5 billion Kenya shillings that we have received in the last 5 years. And this is part of why we brought the Peace Fund, so that the Peace Fund, unlike now, the money goes to the National Treasury. It doesn't come to the Ministry of Defense. But now we have made a deliberate attempt, passed through the cabinet. We want the Peace Fund to be domiciled at the Ministry of Defense. So that money, we will use it to modernize and to buy more equipment for our security forces without putting more pressure on the exchequer. Madam Speaker, thank you.
I believe you are satisfied by that response. Senator Boni Halwale.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, allow me to congratulate the minister. He's one of the ministers who takes our calls and who calls us. Thank you, Minister. Minister, before I ask you my question, allow me to invite you to the provisions of Article 35 of the Constitution, specifically Article 1A, which gives every Kenyan the right of access to information in the custody of the government. Can you please balance this with our age-old tradition in Parliament, where you are free to ask the Speaker to allow you to table that information in camera. I want to invite you. Having done so, allow me to ask you my question. Haiti is 12,119 kilometers away. It takes 13 hours of flying to reach Haiti, and the cheapest flight, Minister, is 220,700 shillings. You have justified our presence in regional missions by attributing it for the need for us to be part of securing peace, security, and stability of our regions. Given the statistics I've given you on how far away Haiti is, could you tell us what are the benefits and what are the intended consequences the government hopes to achieve by taking our troops to Haiti?
Cabinet Secretary.
Madam Speaker, the last question, I think, with a lot of respect to my colleague, when I came to Parliament, I found him in this same chamber. There used to be a library next door. I don't know whether it's still there. Many, many years. I want to refer him the last question to the Minister of Interior. So please take time, invite Professor Kindiki, give him the statistics of the distance and how many flights go there and the hours. That is above it's not my domain, so I'll refer that to Professor Kindiki. And I'm sure the House has the powers using the standing orders to invite him, even this afternoon. Yes, the first one was, yes, Article 35 of the Constitution allows you to get and provide information, any information, to any citizens. But that article must be interpreted with certain responsibility. And I'm sure if you read the chapter on the organs of the National Security Council and even KDF, and you being a very, very seasoned medical doctor, I am sure even sometimes you don't provide your client, your patient, data to all and sundry. This is a plenary. And there are certain information which is, the custodian is the National Security Council. Honorable Boni, Senator Boni Khalawale, I cannot share. But if you want me to share, the venue will not even be Parliament. The venue will be the defense headquarters, because even the room where we want to share, we must take charge of that room. So I will invite you, using the standing orders, to come to defense headquarters. You'll be ushered in, and the generals will share with you some of the privileged data. I am sure from where you sit as a majority whip and as a seasoned leader in this country, you also want to protect our country and you want to protect the national security of our country. Thank you.
It is apparent that the responses being in the domain of security sector are unique and have different perspectives, Senator Boni Halwale. I would also want to guide the senators that the questions that you raise, the supplementary questions that you raise, we had initially agreed that they should be connected to the questions that are before the floor of the House. And I am not blind to the fact that the questions on Haiti are matters of national importance and have raised concerns. Nonetheless, Senator Boni, you are guided to raise that question with the relevant ministry and give the statistics you have given very effectively this morning. Thank you. Senator Bogwa Mongai George.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And allow me also to congratulate the able CS for being a towering figure in the stability of our country. Mr. CS, during our visit to Turkana on Senate Mashinani, it occurred to us in our engagement with the security apparatus that the porous border of Uganda, South Sudan, and Ethiopia are guarded by the defense forces of those particular countries. But on the Kenyan side, it's not guarded. I would want you to tell this House why that is happening, as well as appraising this House the successes and challenges your docket has had in solving the problems of Lamu County. Thank you.
CS.
Madam Speaker, I agree. We are like, let me use the word devolving. We are devolving Kenya Defense Forces, both its bases from our historical positions. We now have 2 sites in West Pokot. We have 4 sites in Turkana. We are in Marsabit. We are in Mandera. So we are building more bases and more training bases, mainly along our border, so that as part of protecting the territorial integrity of our country. So I'm sure in the Lodwar airstrip, for the first time, we have got an forward operating base by our Kenya Air Force. So Kenya Air Force are already in Turkana, in Lodwar town. We are building a big base now in Turkana, courtesy of, I really want to thank the former governor and the current governor of Turkana for availing the land. And we have another 3 bases in Turkana. Turkana is vast. And we are shifting, we have learned from the cattle rustling and banditry in North Rift that Tiati and Baringo and West Pokot and Turkana, we have enough land for even training. So we might even shift both the Kenya Defense Forces and even the police. We might shift our training bases closer to those terrain. I think they're good for training. I am sure, Madam Speaker, Lamu is now under operations. And I don't want to speak about Lamu in the plenary. If the Committee of Defense can invite me in camera, because Lamu now is under operations. So, and this question was, I was not ready for Lamu. But anyway, I told the chair of National Assembly Committee, if I want to speak about Lamu and our war with Al-Shabaab, I'll do it in camera.
Thank you, CS. Senator Abdul Haji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before going straight to the question, I would like first of all to commend and congratulate the Cabinet Secretary of Defense for good work that he's done since his appointment. And I'm not only saying this because he comes from Garissa County and I happen to be senator, but it is very obvious that he's been doing a good job at the ministry, a very sensitive ministry at that. I also want to appreciate the answer that he has given the House, a very detailed answer. And I think, Honorable Madam Speaker, any officer who dies in the line of duty is one too many. And we have to, as a country, appreciate that the work they do is the ultimate sacrifice. If an officer dies in the line of duty, that is the ultimate sacrifice that they can give in fighting for this country. And they are our unsung heroes. And the ones that we have lost, may God rest their soul in peace. Madam Speaker, the Kenyan Army has been in Somalia for 5 years. And as the Cabinet Secretary has explained, that as they are at their second phase of withdrawing from Somalia, the federal government of Somalia has actually requested that they extend their time. So my question is to the Cabinet Secretary, in the period of the 5 years that the Kenyan Defense Forces has been in Somalia, have they undertaken any social development programs, programs within the military-civil engagement that has helped them to win the minds and hearts of the community in Somalia in the areas that they are serving. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to confirm that I have one of the best senators. He is my senator, and myself and the people of Garissa have full confidence in Senator, who he replaced our father and our elder, who also sat in this house. May Allah take him to Jannah. Madam Speaker, yes, Senator Abdullah has asked a very fundamental question. We do it both in our country and we do it outside. If you go to our area and thank Parliament, Parliament always allocates a certain resource to Kenya Defense Forces for their civic duty. So we are involved in construction of dams, building of boreholes, providing medical camps, and wherever our bases are, during drought, they give a lot of water. Senator will agree with me, particularly in the parts in Garissa where there was drought and where our bases are, the same in other parts of the Asal region. So, and then we have an element we call key leadership engagement. The Senator and Deputy Majority Leader in the Senate, Senator for Samburu will agree with me. Even where we go and bring peace and security, we still have key leadership engagement. In Somalia, Madam Speaker, one of our operating base in a place called Duale, and you can look at either ATMIS Twitter handle or KDF, you will find in our biggest hospital, we provide maternal health care, we provide surgery, and even this week, if you go look at that Twitter, you'll find a lady who was now being discharged on a wheelchair who was in our hospital for about 3 months in Duale. So that is a kind of thing we do. We provide water, we provide health facilities. And I remember, Madam Speaker, I visited one of our forward operating bases in Wajir with members of Parliament in our sensitization campaign to the community to help us in the war against Al-Shabaab and against terror. And the elders told us, and the base commander told us, to be more specific, that, you know, all our forces there are adult, and mainly they are men. So they said when the communities come to them with the pediatric cases of children who are sick or mothers who are pregnant, they don't have the drug. So we made a deliberate decision, policy now at Kenya Defense Forces, that wherever we have our doctors and our nurses in the most remote parts of the country and inside Somalia, we must make sure we provide all types of drugs, so that if we get a lactating mother, a pregnant lady, a lady who has complications in delivery, the drugs are available. So that is our duty. And everywhere we do, we don't only use kinetic force. We want to blend it with development, socio-economic development programs, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, CS. Senator Danson Mungatana.
Madam Speaker, every time I attend a funeral of one member of the Defense Forces in Tana River, there are very elaborate ceremonies that follow, and we thank the Ministry of Defense for what they do, because it is a reflection of the discipline and the arrangements that are there. The question I have for the Minister is, can he disclose the amount that they give to each member of the family? At least that one is not a matter of national importance or secret. He should tell us, apart from the flag, the salutes, the nice songs they sing, and all the ceremonies, what does the widow get? At least a figure. What does the widow get on that particular date? I know, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, that the armed forces regulations on gratuities, they have a calculations they make for personnel and officers. So when they give the death gratuities after calculation, so that may be something they do maybe over a period of time, which the minister should tell us. But when they come to bury, what do they give? That's the thing that we want to know. Because it's very sad, but we are always mesmerized by the ceremonies. And actually, at least in Tana River, so many of us go to see what is happening there because of what they do. But do they give, and we want to know from the minister, the figure, so that Kenyans can know when your son or your husband or your daughter has gone on the date of the burial, something, and this is the amount that is given apart from the death gratuity. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Madam Speaker, this is not nothing to hide, so I'll just say what we give immediately within 30 days, for shorter than 30 days. If the officer is serving within our country, immediately he gets 4 million shillings above his pension, which is, has a component called death gratuity. But if he's serving in ATMIS, like in Somalia, apart from the 4 million, the AU and the UN give that family 50,000 USD. And Honorable Senator, if there is anybody who you feel from Tana River County who did not receive this, I am ready and willing to engage you at the Defense Headquarters. But there is a problem. The problem is where families don't agree. And Madam Speaker, on a light touch, even in my life in Parliament here, there are colleagues of mine and Honorable Boni Khalwale and Honorable Mugatana, we served with them in the 10th Parliament, who died, and up to today, they cannot get their gratuity because of family disputes and courts, and people went. So just like here, even in defense, we get a few cases where because of the family dispute, the money becomes not accessible. But 4 million is within the first 3 weeks. If he's serving under ATMIS, Honorable Boni Khalwale, Madam Speaker, I want to urge you on a light note that by the time you go to heaven, don't leave us with a lot of problems. Make some good disclosure. We can work on, Madam Speaker. But we pay 4 million within our country. But if outside our country, like ATMIS in Somalia, we pay 4 million, plus the AU and the UN pays 50,000 US dollars. And I agree with you. We give decent, respectable burials, particularly for KDF officers.
Thank you, Honorable CS. On the issue of family disputes, it appears like Senator Boni Khalwale has some leads towards those disputes. Though tempted, let me allow Senator Julius Mulgo to present the question. Otherwise, you'd have answered to that.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I'm glad I'm not like Khalwale, who has more than 3. I have only 1, and there's no dispute that will be there.
You have only 1 what?
Honorable CS, I'm very thankful for the elaborate explanations that you gave, and I agree with you totally. Because if we should defend this country effectively, we must engage the enemy from far, not allowing, even if you see how cheetah fights her enemies or his enemies, they lead the attacking enemy away from the cubs. They don't allow them to come near. So in defense of our country, we should engage the enemy from far. I have a question, however, from some of the visits you have made. You have assured the nation and the Defense Department that we will buy equipments that will detect the bombs and whatever these guys bury in the ground, so that as our military operatives move around and operate, they will be safer than it is now, because you have done an effective work in keeping them away. But when it comes to these bombs and so on, they seem to still take the day. So how is that going to be? Or because I'm not a prophet, but we will be with these people along the border even after we move back from Somalia. We will still engage them at the border, because these are evil-driven people, and they are connected with maybe the others in the world, the people that are terrorists. So we will still be with them. So how can you give us an assurance on that? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator, for West Pokot. I totally agree with you. And I want to inform the House that we have completely, destroyed the capability and the infrastructure of Al-Shabaab. Their only weapon of choice is the IEDs, and you have rightly said. And that's why you see in Lamu, in parts of northern Kenya, they come in, they walk in 2-3, put an IED, targeting our security forces, and sometimes our citizens suffer. I want to assure this House and the country that under the leadership of the President and our Commander-in-Chief, we have, both us and Interior, Minister of Interior, the National Police Service, we have heavily invested through the support of the budget from Parliament in buying armored vehicle APCs that will protect our troops from the IEDs, and to make sure that using our intelligence, using other technology, we can easily find IEDs. In fact, now we can tell that there's an IED which has been planted on that road, particularly in the Lamu enclaves, and then we tell our officers, number one, not to move in vehicle, and number two, to go and detonate that IED. But by December, January, under the support of the Commander-in-Chief and this administration, we are investing heavily both in interior and defense to make sure that we have the right equipment and the right arms for our security forces, both inside and outside Somalia. Two things I want to assure this House, myself and Professor Kindiki. The North Rift and all other criminals and banditry, this is the government that will deal with. And yesterday the Cabinet has approved the shared national security strategy for North Rift, where now, apart from fighting the criminals, we want to invest in the socio-economic development of those regions. We want to build schools, we want to open up those areas, we want to build dams, we want to build security sector under the implementation of the National Security Council. So, and we will be there for the long haul. The problem with the successive government was that they were going there for 2 months. Leaders called the president, former president, they say, come out. No leader will ever call the Commander-in-Chief until, and now I'm sure the leaders are also very happy, about 85% of the North Rift now is pacified. We have only about 15%. Now we want to remove the kinetic operation and deal with socio-economic development of our people. They must be part and parcel of the Kenyan agenda. So we are investing heavily in the modernization of our security forces, from intelligence to the police, to the other special groups, and to the Kenya Defense Forces.
Thank you, CS. Honorable Jackson Madego, Senator Jackson Madego.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, first let me take this opportunity to thank the CS for appearing before this committee. I had comments in regard to CS Namwamba following the comments of Senator for Bungoma. but since Chair you ruled, let me not speak to us. I would like to ask the CS for Defense. In your response, CS, under counseling and psychological support, your response number 2, that one of you have centers that are tasked with developing psychological support programs for current and retired service personnel, their families, and families of deceased service personnel. Honorable CS, I would like to ask you, your officers that we lost in 2016, whether the people responsible have really visited to offer any support since then. I'll give you a case of Corporal Leonard Tata Damien, service number 73046, who was part of the officers that we lost in Somalia. The widow happens to be from my county. From 2016, she has not received a phone call, an SMS, or a visit. So I would like to know whether the person who is in charge is not sleeping on the job, or whether they are telling the CS they have visited and they have not visited. And for your information, CS, my county buried not less than 15 officers during that period of time. I've only given an example because I was able to get in touch with that. And as that is checked, CS, together with that, what happened with the boundary wall? Was it a wall or a trench at the boundary of Somalia? Is it complete? And how much did it cost?
Senator Madago, how many questions are you asking?
It's one question, but it looks like it has appendages, Honorable Speaker.
It's aggregated into 6 different issues. Senator CS.
Madam Speaker, let me start with the last one. I think, Senator, you need to file a question to ask about the boundary wall. That boundary wall was not a boundary wall. It was a conduit for stealing public resources. And you cannot build 700 border with a wall. It can 700-kilometer border. So they did about 10, but that is one of the ills of the previous administration. So you have the oversight role, so you will ask, please. And you can call those they're still around, some of them. Ask them about the wall. But when I start building a wall, I'm ready to answer. Secondly, about, we are very sorry, and I really want to ask that not only in Somalia, since independence, and you'll find their names in a memorial park in all our camps, there are many men and women in uniform who sacrificed their life for our national security interests. But this particular officer, we condole with the family, and please, I want you to give me. You know, sometimes I have seen, I was asked a question on a pension claim by an officer, by the National Assembly, and when I came to answer and I gave all the evidence, the member realized that this member was cheating him, and he got his pension. So give us the name so that I can check with the head of our medical team and the other welfare team whether they have visited. If they have not visited, I will assure you in the next 2 weeks they will visit, and I'm very sorry if that was not done, but I want to check. So before I leave, maybe I'll get the name of the widow. I think we have a very robust, not only for the widows, even for our veterans who retired. We have a veterans which the houses of Parliament have passed.
Thank you, CS. Senator Lelegwe. Let's see.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me join my colleagues to appreciate the presence and the response by the Cabinet Secretary. Madam Speaker, based on the response by the Cabinet Secretary, he has highlighted the high demand for the KDF in protecting our territorial integrity. Madam Speaker, I'll proceed to ask a supplementary question that is connected to the substantive question as asked by Senator Chute. Mr. CS, what is the reasoning behind the deploying of KDF to address the current insecurity within our borders, particularly the cattle rustling menace in our country, despite the reported lack of success in their efforts? Shouldn't there be a priority to focus to prioritize the focus on protecting our nation's integrity in Somalia, a service that is urgently needed in our nation than engaging within our borders for a business that can be dealt with other agencies of security in our country? Thank you.
CS.
Madam Speaker, I thought the good senator of Samburu will thank Kenya Defense Forces for bringing stability to the 6 counties of the North Rift, including Samburu. But having said that, we are in Samburu and North Rift, courtesy of a provision of law. And if you look at Article 241, sub-article 3C, it says the Kenya Defense Forces may be deployed to restore peace in any part of Kenya affected by unrest or instability only with the approval of the National Assembly. That's one, which we are coming to it. But if you look at B, shall assist and cooperate, that is 3B, shall assist and cooperate with other authorities in situations of emergency or disaster and report to National Assembly whenever deployed in such a situation. Currently, we are in this North Rift region, courtesy of Article 241, 3B. If the situation requires and that we need now to go ourselves, then we'll come back to the National Assembly using 3B. But where are we in that area? You know that area, and I'm sure the senator, my great senator, comes from there. This was an area which was experienced cattle rustling and banditry since immemorial in President Kenyatta's government, President Moi's government, President Kibaki, and President Uhuru. And I think the time has come that we must allow the citizens of that region to be part and parcel of the Kenyan development agenda. Their children must go to school, their women must do business in all the trading centers, roads must be passable, criminals must be dealt with, and above all, those 4 counties must benefit from the budget and the national development of this country. And today I'm very happy to report that we have dealt with, we have silenced the guns, we are helping communities, and yesterday, under the direction of the President and the Commander-in-Chief, we have approved a CAB memo that myself and Professor Kindiki has initiated and which was passed by the National Security Council before coming to Cabinet, to make sure that now as we dealt with the kinetic forces, now we bring socio-economic development. The people of those counties must get education, boarding schools, where all communities' children can go, build more dams, more boreholes, operationalize health centers, ask the Interior Ministry to create all the sub-counties and locations that are in areas where there's no government presence, open up about 13 to 14 security roads so people can move, and above all, establish permanent police and military camps and training camps to address the insecurity and make a very quick reaction. And some of those counties are also along our borders with South Sudan, with Ethiopia, with Uganda, and to make sure that we get less time, we protect our territorial integrity we share with other countries. But I'm sure, Governor, We have a meeting with the leadership of Samburu, Laikipia, and Baringo next week, so that we agree, we listen to the leaders. Now that we have silenced the gun, now the leaders can tell us what else we need to do. And from there, then we go to the ground, the way we did in other counties, and we talk to the people. Now we have reached the stage of engaging the leadership at strategic level. Leaders are very important, communities are very important to make sure that without them, even we can't fight the terror. Without them, we can't bring development. So we will engage you next week.
Thank you, CS. Majority Leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to join the rest of my colleagues in appreciating the Minister for first his appearance, and secondly, I also want to commend him for the grasp of issues in his ministry. Listening to the Minister, you would think he has served in the military before, though I think I suspect, Mr. Speaker, because I know him and I know his family well, I think these are tips that he gets from his lovely wife, who is a daughter of a general. So probably that's where he has gotten all these tips about the things that are happening in this sector. Madam Speaker, I had serious concerns about the issues that were happening in Lamu, but then I've heard the Minister has responded in a way that I am satisfied, because we are just 2 or 3 months shy of December, by when he has promised us that they have made budgetary provisions for equipment that will help our military officers who are serving in Lamu County and many such areas, because it was increasingly troubling to see many of our soldiers die because of the activities of Al-Shabaab in that particular area. Just the last comment, Madam Speaker, is a softer one, and this is on behalf of Parliament. You know that Parliament, Madam Speaker, doesn't have many facilities, some of which we may want use of. Madam Speaker, Parliament and parliamentarians generally, and the Minister has served for many years as a parliamentarian, he knows that on many occasions we have to seek the assistance of other government agencies with regards to facilities where members can train and do other social support activities to help them with their work, and particularly preparation for the annual East African Legislative Assembly Games. And because of lack of stadiums, Nyayo Stadium remains unavailable, particularly for members of the football team. And we have tried to seek the intervention of Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Interior. And while his colleague at the Ministry of Interior have been gracious, and on many occasions the Bunge football team is allowed to play at the police stadium, we have never received such reciprocated support from the military. Yet I know they have very good playing facilities along Langata Road. Will the Minister at least be gracious enough to permit, because he served here and he understands the importance of those games to members, to at least give an undertaking and find ways of helping us. He can choose to respond directly here or later, Madam Speaker, because it's not something extremely related to the country, but to us now as parliamentarians.
Honorable CS.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And if you allow me, at least I can go on record that the leader of majority, I campaigned for him in his election, first when he came to Senate. And he is one of the few leaders who grew on the ladder very fast. So he must be a very blessed man. And he has done his job very well. I think that on the Ulinzi Sports Complex, Madam Speaker, him or the Speaker just needs to write to us. Military installations, Madam Speaker, you don't just walk in. And that stadium, is next to one of our biggest garrison, Langata Barracks. But Parliament is very key. It's a very good facility, one of the best facilities, and I'll urge even senators. Early in the morning, you can even use the track to run, to play. And there are many other corporates who go to. So Parliament and the Senate is one of the best institutions. So, Leader, we are ready and we will avail that. And on Lamu, because I don't want to go into the operational, but the number of terror attacks that we foil every day, the country will be shocked. We are doing whatever it takes. We will not spare any resources. We will not spare any human capital to make sure, under the direction of our Commander-in-Chief, we will make sure for him and for the country to grow, to get the right economic growth and development. Security is a top priority of this administration.
Thank you, Honorable CS. I'm sure the senators will applaud you for that indulgence on the stadium, use of stadium. Senator David Wakoli, Wafula.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii na kushukuru waziri kwa majibu ambayo ameweza kutupa. Langu tu ni kwa kuuliza kwa mustakabali na wajibikaji wa serikali na mawaziri katika baraza la mawaziri, ni yapi ambayo mlizingatia kuafiki kwamba askari wa nchi ya Kenya watapelekwa kule Haiti na sio jeshi la nchi ya Kenya? Na pili, ni mfumo ama kanuni ama sheria ipi mtakayoitumia kuwachagua ama kuwapata vikosi vya vijana wetu shupavu ambao wataenda kuhudumia nchi hii katika nchi ya kigeni kuhakikisha kwamba malengo ya bara na malengo ya kimataifa yanafikiwa? Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable CS.
Madam Speaker, that's a very good question, but I think IG Kome and Professor Kindiki should be here to answer that question. At least the Security Council has approved, and I think now Parliament has a role, so I think with my very good governor, and congratulations, Governor, who replaced my leader and friend, the Speaker of the National Assembly. It's a very good question. I think now you can file a question, now that the Security Council has approved, you can file a question that what are the mechanisms and the procedures. But I don't want to take the responsibility of my colleague, Minister for Interior. I humbly request that.
Senator Karungu Tangwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, the CS is referring to my colleague here as the governor. He is a senator for Bungoma, but maybe he has a vision. My question, Honorable CS, last week the whole Senate was in Turkana for what we call Senate Mashinani. And when we got there, we are able to visit different areas and listen to the people. I'm not a member of the Agricultural Committee, but I joined them in their trip to Katilu irrigation scheme. And when we went there to see the first intake from the River Takwel, we were accompanied by an entourage of police officers. And we were told that's where the neighbors from Pokot come in and attack the people of Turkana, and vice versa. And when we were listening to the people, they said, Mr. Speaker, that if only KDF was to be stationed there to serve as a buffer zone between the Pokot and the Turkana. And when they go there, and I'm really happy when you say that you're going to integrate them in the community project and all that, and when they go there, they don't go as a camp. They get land. They use that land for irrigation, because that area, Mr. Speaker, they're capable of irrigating about 2 million acres, but they only have 2,000 acres of irrigation. So probably we can also use our KDF to, one, provide security, and also be part of fighting or providing food security in this country. if they were put there as a buffer zones between Pokot and Turkana, and they have so many acres of land where they can as well use the local communities to cultivate that land, such that when you want to go to Turkana from Pokot, you have to go through the KDF camp, now the farm, or vice versa. They were giving that suggestion, if it is possible, wherever we have conflict between, and I don't know why, Mr. Speaker, I had time to reflect. And I think as a nation, we need to think about what we need to do for the neighbors, because we realize Turkana are complaining of Pokot. Laikipia, they're complaining of Pokot. Samburu are complaining the same. So I think something needs to be done. I don't know whether it's the Pokot or the other communities. So I need something also need to be done. But my question was creation of a buffer zone. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to answer the great Senator of Kiambu, sorry, I was saying Senator of Bungoma, is that there are a number of fundamentals. Number one, you only talk to the Turkanas. So I think next time you talk to the Pokots, then next time you talk to the Samburus, you talk to the people in Laikipia, you talk to the people of Samburu, Baringo, the whole of that ecosystem, because everybody has his story to tell. But I don't think Kenya Defense Forces should create a buffer zone between communities. Our buffer zone should be our borders, the air, the land, and the sea. We protect our country. In this area where you went, don't worry. We will deal with the Turkana criminals, we will deal with the Pokot criminals, we will deal with Samburu criminals, we will deal with the Elgeyo Marakwet criminals, we will deal with the Tiati and the Baringo criminals. And now we have dealt with them. They have felt the weight of Kenya Defense Forces and other multi-agency team. And they know this administration, they have to choose something else to do. Their historical business of cattle rustling and killing and closing and maiming women and children, it will not happen under President William Ruto as the Commander-in-Chief. So it's good you have had it. We have a number of small FOBs in those areas. Today, if you go to the bridge called Koloa Bridge, taught in Elgeyo Marakwet and Baringo, communities are going through and everything is going well. So rest be assured, the way your people are dealing with the Changa brewers and drug dealers in other parts of the country and criminals and wash, the way Interior is dealing with the story of bandits and criminals in the North Rift and northern part of Kenya will be a thing of the past.
Thank you, Honorable CS, for that particular response. Senator from Turkana, Senator Lomenen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to thank the CS, Duale. He's my friend, a close friend, but I've missed him in this chamber for so long because I've been having several questions for him, but I know he has been so busy. Maybe to go straight, when I speaker, Turkana is 77,000 kilometers square. It borders Ethiopia at the area of Kibich. It borders southern Sudan at Nadapal. It also borders Uganda at the border of Lotere. And then something that is so unique that an CS is supposed to know, Pokots are dual citizen. They fought both in they fought both in Kenya and they fought both in Uganda. So how do you treat them? When they raid or they ambush the Kenyans, Turkana Kenyans who are in Kenya, they hide themselves, they hide weapons in Uganda. As we talk now, Mr. CS, through the speaker, the KDF is not located in Uganda. I'm sure also it is not located in Ethiopia. It's only located in southern Sudan. That is another part. So, but my observation that those who are there are very few. So, our citizens from Loima or Turkana County have been mostly embarrassed by the UDF in Uganda. As even we talk now, there are people who are imprisoned just because of taking their livestock to Uganda. And you know it very well, there is that East Africa treaty which we signed. And our citizens, our partner states like Kenya, are supposed to enjoy this grazing and water. As we talk now, they are not supposed to step there in every means they will use. So the livestock and the people are suffering now at the area called Logriama. So, Mr. Speaker, I will need to clarification from the CS responsible why the KDF is not in Uganda, is not also in Ethiopia, and then my colleague Senate said between West Pokot and Uganda. You should not treat West Pokot as only Kenyans. They are external. They fought both in Uganda and Kenya. So when they do something, you don't treat them that as Kenyans. You treat them differently. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, could you respond to Senator from Turkana?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Senator for Turkana was my friend and old colleague in the National Assembly. And now I'm happy and I want to apologize here today that we had sometimes very unkind words with him on the Senate. Little did he know that he will come and sit in the Senate. Little did I know that I will come and answer questions before the Senate. I think for me, this is how the world is around about. So, the Speaker, I want to apologize for the very many unkind remarks I made against the Senate when I was in the National Assembly. But number one, Honorable Senator, I can only speak for Pokots who are Kenyans. That's number one. Number two, I agree with you, and I want to thank the county government and the leadership of Turkana. Now we have enough bases in Turkana County, which we are going to build, including our Air Force in Lodwar town. All these are geared to make sure that our people and our country is safe from any incursion from our neighbors. We have a very good diplomatic relation with Uganda, with Ethiopia, with South Sudan. And these are governments that we deal with every day to solve if there are any issues concerning our people. But on the insecurity and cattle rustling, we have agreed with the Ugandan People's Defense Forces that they will deal with the banditry on their side, and we deal on banditry on our side. That's why I'm saying bandits have no choice. They have nowhere to hide. They can't cross, whether they are Turkanas or even though I don't want to brand criminals, any community. They are criminals. Criminals have no place to hide, even across the borders, to Sudan, to Ethiopia. We are talking to those government and those colleagues. And I want to assure you that there will be bases in all those three borders. Already we have the one with South Sudan. We are going to increase. We have even brought the Air Force to Lodwar Airport. So we will increase, and that's why we are moving from the central area of Kenya and go to the borders to safeguard our people, including the great people of Turkana.
Thank you. CS Senator Hazena, you had made initially a request. Seems you've... Senator Hazena.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, but I had wanted to ask the Honorable CS and our northern leader that about why they cannot deploy people who understand the terrain well, especially the local, into these regions as one of the ways to curb insecurity and deal with these bandits. Thank you, because I think Samburus understand their territory very well, the Turkana understand their territory well, so they are the best people to bring peace among themselves. Thank you.
Honorable CS.
Madam Speaker, I had an incident in West Pokot, in Elgeyo, and Minister Murkomen and the leaders were with me. In Kenyan Defense Forces, we don't have communities. We don't have Turkanas, we don't have Samburus. We have Kenya Defense Forces under the leadership of the Commander-in-Chief. So I think that story I used to hear when I was a member of Parliament, where you say remove this OCS because he comes from that community. That doesn't work in Kenya Defense Forces. They are Kenyans and they know all the terrain. So it's not only Samburus who will know. We have got very good officers, Samburu. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the Major General in charge of training, policy, and operations at Kenya Defense Headquarters is from Samburu. A very decorated, respectable general. But he is a Kenyan general. So he can go anywhere. So I want to assure my sister, our senator, that don't worry. Every officer in the file and rank of Kenya Defense Forces knows the terrain, and they are Kenyans, and we don't want to discriminate them. We want them to work any part of our country and any part of our region, both East Africa and the Horn of Africa.
Thank you, Honorable CS. I think, Honorable Members, that brings us to the close of the questions to the Honorable CS, whom I must appreciate for his, if I must appreciate the CS for his vast knowledge and commitment to the ministry, and also to confirm to him that you apologize to the House for advisedly apologizing for the comments you made previously in the other House, that the apology is accepted, and acknowledge the fact that you have committed to honor and respect the House of Parliament, both this one and also the National Assembly. And welcome you once again to answer the questions. I know there are so many questions honorable members would want to ask. I know there are so many other supplementary concerns and questions they would have wanted to ask. But because you have taken your time within today to respond to this one, we will welcome you once again in another session, and we will look forward to also get to know more of your responses in terms of what is relevant to your ministry. With that, Honorable CS, you are discharged with appreciation from the Chair and from the House. Honorable members, we need to call the next order of business. Clerk.
Order number 8, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable members, this is the bill that we had yesterday. I think we adjourned the House when Senator Mandago was on the floor, and he had 17 minutes remaining for him to conclude on his response to support the bill that was moved yesterday by the majority whip. Senator Mandago was just here in a moment. Senator Mandago, you had 17 minutes remaining of your time. I do not know whether you are ready to proceed.
Yes, I'm ready.
Take the mic.
Honorable Speaker, as I had stated yesterday before my time was up, that I do support this motion of additional allocation bills to county governments. Honorable Speaker, in supporting this motion, this is going to add additional close to 56 billion Kenya shillings to counties. And Honorable Speaker, this is going to aid our counties